Welcome back to another edition of Rock Forever. We got a special guest going way back. You know him as the bass and guitarist and songwriter, one of the co-founders of the mighty Dictators. Please welcome Andy Chernoff.
How you doing, Jay?
Doing great, or should I say Adney Chernoff?
Oh, just call me Mr. Chernoff.
There we go. All the way back to 72. Talk about back then, you know, putting this group together as you were attending the State University in New York, you know, and Mr. Ross Friedman, Ross the Boss, and, you know, Scott Kempner, Mr. Top 10, you know,
Yeah.
talk about your idea back then, you know, what you were feeling in rock and roll, what your idea was that it needed more of.
Well, it was a completely different world. You got to imagine, this is before CBGBs, before the Ramones, before the Sex Pistols, before MTV. Music business was a lot smaller, and it was in kind of a I don't know, dominated by singer-songwriters from LA and pop stuff. Like, you know, when the Dictators record came out, the top song of the year was "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree" by Tony Orlando. So, you know, we like bands like MC5, Stooges, Slade, and we just like, you know, guitar-oriented, fast, up-tempo rock songs. And we also had an attitude. You know, we were pretty sarcastic, wise guys. And we just tried to, you know, represent ourselves. And it was a little different. The idea that I'm talking about this here 45, 50 years later is pretty astounding. I think I would have fallen on the floor with a heart attack if I knew about that when I was
a
20-year-old kid
50 years
starting the band.
I mean, that's a lot has come and gone in those days. And the fact
amazing.
that you're back with new songs and the revived band reassembled, you know, obviously there's been many times, you know, where you've taken a break and come back to it. Why do you feel that there's unfinished business with the Dictators?
Well, the story is Scott and I were always buddies and in touch, and we had sort of lost touch with Ross, but we were brought together. There was some Dictator business that had to be dealt with, and so we that put us back in touch with Ross. And once that business was settled, Ross had the idea, let's get the band back together. And I was that's the last thing I thought about doing. I was gonna, you know, play with the Dictators again. I had a nice life. I was able to make music I liked. I was playing with a lot of bands. Everything was good. Scott kind of convinced me to come on, we can do it. We can do something good. And I said, okay, let's do it. So so this is at the end of 2019. And I said, hey, after the holidays, let's talk about getting the band back together. That's January 2020. And of course, February is when the pandemic really kind of got serious and everything started closing down. So it put a bit of a crimp in our plans. But the good thing is it kept us all busy and sane during that pandemic. So I think it's been a blessing to play with the band again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where Ross gets his energy. I think he's in like 6 other bands. I mean, it's unbelievable. This guy
He's in
he's playing in punk clubs in Germany. I mean, he's in the mosh pit. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's playing in, including it's 3 bands he's playing in now, and he has records coming out with all of them, I think. So.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. I interview him every project he comes out with, and
oh, great!
I'm just in awe, you know, that he's still got that energy. You know, the business is challenging in a lot of ways, but you know, there's home recording. I mean, back in the early days, you actually had to have a budget. You had to go into a real studio. Needed a real producer, you know.
Needed a record company. Now you don't need a record company.
Yeah, I mean, you could pretty much make the recordings and make the videos on your own, and kind of as a sideline, just test the water, you know, see what's out there, and not have to, you know, be beholden for $1 million or more to a record label.
Yeah, I find it liberating. I'm very happy the way things are, you know. Everybody's, you know, our new drummer is Albert Bouchard. He's got a million projects going. I got other bands. Somehow we make it work because we love making music. This is the thing about it at this stage of our careers. We're not looking for a hit record. We're not looking to get rich. We just like to make music because every day you make music is a good day. So if you make music with musicians you respect that are your friends, it's a blessing as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing better I could wish for myself at this time of my life.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fun. You got a pedigree on this name, like I say, going back almost 50 years. The Ramones are long gone. Most of those bands are dead and buried, and you still got a chance to make a statement, say something, stir the pot up a little bit. What was it like? I mean, obviously back then you were just living your life, making this, kind of music out of mainstream, yourself, and then you saw the Ramones coming up. What was your impression as you saw the hardcore bands coming up and the CBGB scene, and all of a sudden these record labels, Sire Records, everybody, talking about punk rock is going to be the next big thing?
Well, we put out our first record. We recorded. We were in the studio in August of 1974, making our first record for Epic, when the Ramones were doing their very, very first show at CBGB's. We put out our record in, I think it was March or April of 75. And there was no outlet, there were no clubs, there was no place to tour, radio stations had no interest. So we got dropped pretty quickly. Now, a few months later, a year later, things have started percolating, and all of a sudden there's an audience, and I was pretty happy to see the rock and roll world as I envisioned it coming to fruition, and it was particularly in England, where really was dominating the culture, where it was top of the charts on TV, affecting fashion, politics, everything. In America, it was still kind of off to the side, a little underground. It really, the whole punk rock thing didn't really take off till Green Day happened in the 90s and Outkast. Then it became hit records. So I was, just to have an audience, I was pretty happy to see the Ramones and the whole CBGB scene explode, because it gave us a place to play and an audience to play to.
Yeah, I know it must have felt like, some of these underground magazines was about all you had back then, like you say, radio's not really there. There is no such thing as MTV. And, besides record stores, people going in and hearing, what the clerk has to say. I mean, it was pretty much, a few magazines. And, now all of a sudden, America, I know the conservatives stood back and say, oh, this punk rock thing, let's see, and the Sex Pistols came over and self-destructed in a few shows, and the Damned broke up. I mean, it was just like there was nothing to prove to the mainstream that there was any viability. Obviously the Clash came over and connected to your boy Sandy Pearlman, with Give 'Em Enough Rope is the first US release. I helped put on their first shows up in Vancouver in the Northwest. And, they obviously had, another level of attitude and all that. And, yeah, like you say, the Green Days of the world and the Rancids and all that's at least third generation, but, it seemed to catch on that, this alternative music with a catchy song and an attitude was something. Now, obviously, you guys got another deal with Elektra, and you're in there making records. And I know famously, Bruce Springsteen in the next studio comes in and shouts out 1, 2, 3, 4, on the beginning of one of the Blood Brothers songs. I mean, talk about, trying to survive. You got a new deal with Elektra, and some things are opening up, but it's still, it's still not MTV. It's still not an easy street out there.
Well, we're not the commercial band. We're word eccentric. I'll take the blame. Songs I write, even though they may have choruses you can sing along to, the subject matter is not the typical stuff people want to hear about, I think. Doesn't mean we don't have an audience, because we do. And we had an audience that we could make money on and could tour on. But we're just not a mainstream band. So when we were on Elektra, we had big budgets and, tours, a lot of tours, and opened up for a lot of mainstream artists, but still never connected to the mainstream audience. We're really a niche act, and I wouldn't mind having a hit single, but I prefer having a career, and I've had a career. I've made over 200 album credits as a musician, singer, producer, songwriter. I've been in a dozen bands. I've had like 50 songs in movies and TV shows and video games and commercials. So I'm pretty happy the way things turned out, even though I never had the big hit single.
Yeah, I mean, MTV with the right song, even if it's tongue in cheek, something, kind of dumbed down and, for the masses, something could have caught on, but,
Well, actually, let me interject.
Yeah.
We had a band, me, Ross, and Manitoba had a band called Wild Kingdom on Universal MCA, and we had a big a record that was a video that was very successful on MTV called "The Party Starts Now." It was in the movie Kindergarten Cop. It got a lot of radio play, but this is part of the music business. They got a new regime came in the middle of when our record was out, and they sort of, lost interest in what we were doing. They dropped the ball. They wanted, this is what happens. New people come in and they want to have hits on their bands that they signed. So we had, I had some success on MTV, but, it was short.
Yeah. Well, like you say, a company like MCA, they're going through regimes every few years, and you're a hot potato. They don't get credit if you hit, and it's kind of a pointless act for them. They want to put something on the charts that they sign, so they get all the credit for it. Now, obviously, with the new band, with Albert Bouchard from BOC, obviously connected through the Sandy Pearlmans and Murray and everybody from the past. It's family. But when you put this thing together, did you reach out to Manitoba? I mean, who else did you reach out to? I mean, what was the feedback, and how did you end up with this lineup?
Well, as I said, Ross and Scott and I were brought together by some Dictator business. And Dictator the business was Manitoba trying to get some of our money, so we weren't interested in working with him. It just wouldn't have worked out with him. We need a healthy creative atmosphere. He's got a lot of problems, financial and personal problems, and we just didn't want to deal with that at this point in our lives. So we never even approached him, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's more important to be comfortable and enjoy who you're working with and what you're doing, as opposed to, okay, we got this guy, you remember, but it might be a pain in the ass every day dealing with him. And it's a familiar story, out there.
Yeah,
this many years, people grow apart, people get a little desperate, and things change.
It was just, we wanted to make music. We didn't want drama. We didn't want any craziness. So, that's where we got Albert. Albert is steady. Albert is easy to get along with. And Albert, he's a drummer and a cowbell player, and he's also a songwriter. He's also a singer, and he's an arranger. And he helped out a lot on the production of our first two singles, and he's going to continue to help out in a lot of ways. He really has a lot to contribute. So we love working with Albert. He's such a great guy. So we're happy with the way things are. I wish things were different in a lot of ways, but we're too old to to fight, on certain, play ego games.
Got it.
So
Understood.
we don't have to talk anymore about this. Let's leave that alone.
Yeah, let's get to the new songs. Goddamn New York. I mean, talk about putting that together. A tribute to the damn city that birthed you, and I'm sure there's always a double-edged sword. Dealing with New York. Talk about this anthem and what it means to you.
Well, I wrote the song, the gist of the song, with my wife for a video that we were going to make. This is back like 8, 9, 10 years ago, and I still have the demo. So when we were discussing songs to record, what we should do, who had ideas, what do you got, and I presented "Goddamn New York," and everybody went, "Yeah, let's we like it." So I had to change the key. I had to redo the lyric completely, do a little rearrangement, and I dictatorized it, and we put it out, and it's done quite well on YouTube and Spotify. The first few months, so we're really happy with it. People seem to like it. It set up our next song, which is "Let's Get the Band Back Together," which is another song I had an idea from the past, and just seemed too perfect for the band for a band that's performing not to do a song called "Let's Get the Band Back Together." Plus, it's really lyrically, it's really kind of Dictator style with a lot of funny lines in it. So that's where we're at, and we've got another song we're working on now for release, hopefully in July. And we have another song we hope to get out in November. We all live in different places, so we're doing a lot of file trading. This is the way people make records these days, and it's a very slow process.
Sure.
If you're in the studio with everybody, something that takes 10 minutes takes a week of file trading.
Of course. Now, is there a plan for an album? I know some people say an album's an old-fashioned thing, but we all come from the world of albums. Is that something next year you hope to put out a full length?
Well, I think the world is it's a singles world. People listen to individual songs either in a playlist or they're it just you might listen to an old album, but if I had an album, we made a record album. I don't even know where do I sell? There are no stores, but hopefully in 2022, we can start playing live, things open up even more. And then you compile all these songs that we've put out and a few more, and you sell it at your shows, and people are happy to buy a souvenir of the show. You autograph it, you talk to your fans. It's a good way to interact with people. So someday we will make some kind of EP or album, I think. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it all starts with a song that people like, and you can put out albums all day long, but if there's not a song on there that people like, what's the point?
Yeah, and I like the idea of putting out singles. Like, here, let's put this song out. Let's see if this one really grabs people. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
People's attention spans are different. When I was a kid, I would buy a bunch of albums and I sit in a chair and I listen to the records and I look at the cover and I flip over the record and put on the next record. These days, music is kind of in the background for what I'm doing. I'm cooking, I'm jogging, I'm cleaning the house. I don't put on a record and just listen to the record. The record is going on while I'm doing something else. I listen to music all day long, but it's not my main focus. It's sort of motivating me in some way.
Got it. Got it. So I know Ross lives in the city. Where is Scott based these days?
Scott's in Connecticut.
Okay. And Albert, where's Albert?
Oh, you broke up. Say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where's Albert based these days?
Albert is in Manhattan. Ross is
Okay.
in Queens.
Okay.
So it's, everybody's all over the place.
Yeah, I know technology has its advantages, you know. I know you used to, like I say, we used to have a budget to go make a record. You know, it was a big deal. If you didn't have a deal, like who's going to finance the damn record? It could cost
Yeah,
$50,000 or more.
long gone, long gone, long
What
gone.
what what, what do
I
you
make
feel?
records.
What is your, best take on digital recording?
Well, I've been doing digital recording for a long time now. I have Pro Tools, and I make records. I've made records. I have a drum program called Easy Drummer. I don't even need a drummer. I've got them on the radio. I've gotten them in commercials and video games, and you don't even need a drummer anymore. Now it's more fun playing with a drummer like Albert. But when I'm on my own, I got everything in my computer.
Yeah, you want to be as self-contained as possible, and if you can add some more flavor to one of the parts, fantastic. If not, you're self-sufficient. Now, when you look back at those early, days, the 76 through 79, and the birth of so much of that CBGBs, where groups like Talking Heads and Blondie and Ramones really started getting traction around the country and around the world. What's your favorite memories? I know we had record stores everywhere. I mean, that was something we definitely miss these days. But when you look back, what are your fondest memories of that time?
Wow, it was such a magical time. It was like drugs were cool, sex was safe. We were young, we were free. It was a really magical time. When we were playing CBGBs, it would be like, you would play a weekend. You play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 2 sets a night. So you're playing 6 shows in 3 days. And then the next weekend it'd be Talking Heads, same thing. And then the weekend after that it would be the Ramones. The weekend after that it'd be television. Think of the bands that we were that we were contemporaries. Blondie, Mink DeVille, fantastic artist. Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers. They made one of the best New York rock and roll records ever, LIMF. It was a crazy period. There was a lot of craziness going on, but I just have a lot of great memories of the experiences.
Yeah,
and
super
playing.
exciting. Now I remember I grew up all over the world, but I saw you guys on the Blood Brothers tour around 78 in Boulder, Colorado. You guys are playing like a ballroom there on the campus.
I remember it. I remember that show.
You remember that show?
Yeah.
It was rowdy and fun, and I remember talking to you guys after, and they were like, "Yeah, man, the Dead Boys are coming through in a few weeks, man." There was this camaraderie,
Yeah.
People,
I also want to add that we went to England in 70, end of 77. It was like November. We were there the week the Sex Pistols record came out, and that was an amazing experience. Seeing England when punk rock was really ruling the roost. And meeting all those bands, The Clash and those guys, and Billy Idol, and just a lot of great experience, a lot of great memories. I'm glad I survived. Because I see.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't.
A lot of people didn't.
Rest in peace.
I never had a taste for drugs or alcohol. I mean, I did them, but I never dominated my life.
I know it's hard to say without walking a mile in their shoes, but you would just think that, these guys before they get hooked on heroin just know the track record, know how many people have ruined their lives or killed themselves.
Yeah, people don't think about it. When you're 22 years old, you're not thinking about it. You're not. You just let's have a good time, and and some people that do heroin, they just fall in love with it. I tried it. I didn't enjoy it, you know. And a lot of people had mental illnesses in those days that, you know, that they could be medicated for now, and heroin sort of played a role in evening out their emotions, I think. Um, so I think there were a lot of, you know, it's a complex issue, but
Yeah,
you know,
no, it's
we lost our faith.
easy to say from afar, but
Yeah,
having lost, I mean, we lost all the Ramones, not necessarily to heroin, but obviously Johnny Thunders, all the New York Dolls are gone besides David now. I mean,
yeah,
so many of those bands are, devastated. Blondie down to 3 members. It's just it's all about survivors now, and you guys are definitely survivors. So, can you tell us what the next single's called? Any preview on that next one coming?
it's a cover. I don't want to tell you because it's kind of an interesting cover. But the song after that is going to be a song about how it's going to be a very special Dictators holiday song about Festivus. So I think that's appropriate for the Dictators.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's
You know what Festivus is, right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No,
For
it's
anybody who doesn't know, Festivus was on a fake holiday on the TV show Seinfeld, and we're gonna celebrate Festivus with a very, very special song.
yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of people have done covers and done them their way, and had a nice strong reaction to it, so all the best to you on that. We can't wait to hear the next songs.
Thank
Like
you.
I said, we already know Ross is chomping at the bit to get out there and play when you can, and hopefully we see you and Scott and everybody out hopefully early next year, doing some gigs, man. Great.
Yeah, I'm looking for 2022. I don't think anything's gonna happen this year, you know. I want to get more music out to establish the band, the new band a little bit more, so people aren't associating us with the older music. I want them to, I want people to associate us with the older music, but I also want them to say, hey, they got some cool new tunes also. So far, so good.
Well, our special guest has been Andy Chernoff, of course, bass guitarist, songwriter extraordinaire, co-founder of the Mighty Mighty Dictators. Can't wait to see new songs and new blood later in 21, and hopefully be able to press some flesh in 22, and see the band back here in California and all parts of the country. Thank you so much, Andy. Really appreciate you stopping by and keeping Rock Forever going.
My pleasure, Jay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.